I try to keep this so there's many different organizations here. We have some laboratories, we have some manufacturing companies, lots of different things going on. So what's something that we all touch, in these, in our work and outside of work every day? And that's some type of return process. Whether you're returning something through Amazon, whether you're returning something that you bought from Walmart, there's a process for it. So I chose RMA simply because it does touch generally all of us at some point in time in our life. Okay. So Cornet Technology is a small agile business. We have just over 25 years of business, so we've made it. In designing and manufacturing essential and dependable video, voice, data communication products that work behind the scenes in support of mission success for our customers. So our customers are your Northrop Grummans, your BAEs, your Boeings, and their end customers, the soldier. And these are some of those end customers. I'm happy that this right here is Special Forces. We just finished a product for them, which was pretty cool. It's weird when you produce something, you don't quite know what it does. Okay, some key takeaways for this. Benefits and risks of a workflow, of automating anything. There are benefits and risks. Before, during, and after. That's a, in the quality role, they call it PDCA, or Plan, Do, Check, Act. It's before, during, and after. Show and tell. I get to show off what we've done with our RMA workflow. And then show me the money, the investment that we spent and what we got back out of it. First off, a workflow. So you've probably heard it. Who in here has workflows? Currently work with them at their job. So everybody. You have your car workflows, your managerial reviews, all the workflows that Cornet has provided, which have been awesome. Basically, a workflow is a sequence of industrial, administrative, or other process through which a piece of work passes from start to finish. So that can be as simplistic as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, has its workflow, depending on who you are. Some put peanut butter on both sides of bread. Somebody else's workflow might be no peanut butter at all. It's simplistically, it's something that you can follow from start to end. Okay. Benefits and risks. We've heard a lot about risks with 2015, ISO 2015 now, calling for us, making it mandatory that we identify our risks and how we mitigate, so on and so forth. I'm not delving too deep into that part of it. I'm keeping it as simple as possible. The benefits and the risks. What could go wrong? What could go right? Some risks. You got to start with and it's not necessarily bad. It's just things that could happen, and we need to figure out a plan before we start automating anything, what we're going to do. So the initial crossover from paper process to automated will, I say will, I had may in here. I went back and put will. It will slow the process down initially. Every workflow that we've done at Cornet, taking something from a paper process or maybe a non-existent process and automating it, has slowed things down initially. It's frustrating in manufacturing, it's frustrating for production. It's frustrating for engineers who are trying to release drawings and get things built, because we've had to slow them down a little bit, as we started. Internet use may or may not be interrupted periodically. You are dependent on the server, your company's ability or signal, as far as, you might not have Wi-Fi depending on where you're located in the United States. This is all dependent on the internet. So it's a risk here, and how you mitigate that. User interface issues. These are your folks that just don't understand it, or struggle with some of the basic things that not all of us struggle with, and logging in, password changes, things like this that are are going to be a road bump for some folks in your organization. It's not if, they will. It's just going to happen. Unforeseen impacts after launch. How do you mitigate something unforeseen? You theorize a little. This is getting everyone in the same room before you start any automating and theorizing about what peripherally could go wrong. Budgeting. We have to pay for it. Initially, get it up and going, you got to have some sort of module to launch a workflow from. Our company has chosen Qualtrax. Why? It fits every need that we have as far as manufacturing goes. Benefits. Anybody think of any risks I didn't mention? Possible risks. Taking something from, so this was our RMA process prior to. So we did everything on a form. We sent this to the customer filled it out with the information we needed them to fill it out with. They sent it back to us. We processed this piece of paper through 4 or 5 different departments. It may have been photocopied 25 times by the time it's made its way through. Some people, I found when we were mapping this process out, some people were making 5 copies of this for no reason. That was just part of their process. And they'd been doing that for years. We weren't sure why, but that's what they did. They take this and they photocopy it 5 times and then continued on with the process. So, some benefits. Prevents misfiled, misplaced documents and records. I think they photocopied it 5 times because they would lose it 4. Or maybe misplace it 3 times. Or maybe so-and-so wanted a copy this week. Or you get the picture. Retrieves documents quickly and provides them at a desktop level. Saves and or eliminates the need for expensive physical storage space. Provides documents in a centrally available, one-shop, one-stop location across all your departments and your users simultaneously. Enormous positive impact on internal customer service operations. The morale, we watched the morale of this process shoot through the roof once we automated it. These guys were sick of processing RMAs. Why? It was a dysfunctional paper process. Things started to stack up, pile up. It became work that was behind. You were starting to get noticed. The customer was calling. What's going on? You said 30 days. Where's our product? The customer service inside our organization benefited huge when we automated this process. People started talking to each other in a much better tone, believe it or not. Reminding and ensuring compliance, reporting, reviews and approvals, publishing, tracking employee metrics and competencies, collecting employee signatures, cost and waste reduction of paper products. You can put a monetary value to this immediately. This as far as ROI goes, return on your investment. That's one thing that you can start tracking immediately, because once we launched, this went away. Cost and waste reduction of time spent processing. With a paper form, there's no real way to track who processed when, how, so on and so forth. Right hand, and this is one of my favorite, right hand knows what the left hand is doing. With the paper process, prior to launching automated, our right hand sometimes knew what the left hand was doing and vice versa. And there was a few areas of the process where, the right hand, I think, believed it was all alone. Okay, so preparation is key if you want it to be successful. We went from 0 workflows 3 years ago to right around 150 right now. And we've done it using this method. And we didn't have this method when we first started launching workflows. And I brought a little, I wish Deanna was here, because this was for her. I brought a little, Deanna came to our facility 5 years ago. And it was because we had Qualtrax for 15 years. And let's see, can y'all see that? Let me get close. This is basically, see, it's sequential. See the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down there. It's handwritten. This is off a piece of paper in our packaging facility. Deanna came and did a little, basically a warm up or refresher session on what the power of workflows and what you could do with the workflow. So we got hot and heavy in the training, and it ended up with this on the wall, and it was our first workflow, our product failure analysis workflow. We took it from a paper form, and Deanna helped us get it on paper, showed us the power of routing, so on and so forth, and from there the rest is history. We have 150 now, very complex workflows. So thank you, Deanna, when you watch the video. Everyone prepares differently. I prepare sometimes in the next method. Every organization prepares differently. This is your culture. You know your people, you know the process. If you are in a position in your company where you have the ability to map out a process and automate it, you're in a fortunate position because you get to see something really cool. You prepare differently. But you've got to have these essential foundational blocks that you prepare around as being your foundation. How Cornet prepares. This is how we do it. And again, this took quite a few workflows to really get down to a systematic approach to automating paper processes. Map the current process. Some call this spaghetti maps. Anybody familiar with spaghetti maps? You know, where you basically walk the process or whatever it is that you're trying to follow, and you see who it touches, when it touches them, what they do with it, and then where they take it. And what you'll find a lot of times, and when we did our RMA process and mapped it out spaghetti-wise, you'll see routes that overcross each other. People doing things that don't add value or push the product or push what it is that you're trying to move down the process. So some companies, some person's methodologies is the spaghetti map. There's 100 different ways to do that, to map your process. But point is, it's boots on the ground. Your hands are going to get dirty. You've got to learn the process. You've got to follow this piece of paper from the second whoever prints it out and initiates it, all the way to when the customer gets their product back for the RMA process. If you're doing a process on for laboratories, I'm not too familiar with laboratories, but I imagine it's something to do with you're receiving some substance that you're having to track or record the results on, whether it be weight, clarity, chemical composition, whatever it is. If you're doing that with a paper form, you might have a candidate for a workflow on your hands. All these are before. Now, we haven't started automating anything. You know, the process is still running in sequence with this as we're going. Involve everybody. So when you do that process map and you're doing your spaghetti and you're following this paper around and seeing what all is involved in this process, you're going to start to see everybody who's involved. And when I mean involve everybody, I mean everybody. Everybody has to have a say. It's key. The more people you get at the beginning, before you start automating, these are the people that are going to build the workflow for you. And now they are vested in what you're doing. It changes the entire dynamic. It's not myself or Tim coming on the floor and saying, okay, we're automating. We're starting in 2 weeks. Get ready. Hope you know your logins. It's not like that. You got to let these people be involved. They're going to be the ones that are come back to you and say, it's not working. or it is working, or can we add this, or can we take away that? That's vital. You put everybody in at the beginning. It's one of the most important steps. If you don't have everybody that's involved from your spaghetti map, there's no point in moving forward. Establish your goals. What are you expecting out of the workflow? So a couple of things we were expecting or looking to fix, and some people will call it a business case. But this is, well, what are we trying to address? So what we were trying to address is our customer was not receiving back their product within the 30-day time frame that we tell them we would do it. That's what started it. We weren't meeting a quality objective. That was actually a part of our quality policy. We weren't meeting it. And we really had no way to show, except for with customer complaints, that we weren't meeting it. Map it out. So you had your spaghetti map, and when you're done with the spaghetti map and you see all the different places that this return product is going in this case, it's a mess. It looks a mess. Your next step is taking that spaghetti map and streamlining it, making it sequential, so to speak. Again, you need everybody in the room when you're developing this. You may not need them all in there from start to finish, but your initiators, you know, they might be in contact with or need to be in communication with this person to make decisions that they're making in the beginning during initiation that have to involve people further down the stream. You don't know that until you get them all in the room and you start asking questions. And a lot of times your answers will start to be, well, I give it to such and such, and they all know it. Well, okay, where's such and such? Let's go get such and such. So that we get everyone constantly involved. After you've mapped it out, and we'll go back to this slide in a minute, okay, what can go wrong? Again, we have not started automating anything. What can go wrong? Again, everyone that's involved is going to help you identify. Believe me, they will more than help you identify what could go wrong. You'll have no issues with that. Build. Okay, so our return, and we'll get more into this later, but there are some hardware items that we needed that had we launched or went automated, it wouldn't have worked when it hit the floor. Certain things had to be ready already on the floor, and training had to be taking place on how to use these items in tandem with the workflow we just built. Okay? Test it. Does it work? Test it, and oftentimes what we'll do is if a workflow impacts 5 or 6 people, let's say it touches 5 or 6 people, those 5 or 6 people will come together in a conference room. Depending on how big the process is, you might need to get the big conference room. But you get everyone together with their laptops and you do the workflow from start to finish. And you make sure everyone's getting their messages and the workflow's routing the way that it should, and do we want it to, you know, it's another opportunity to make sure you're good before you hit the floor. Because once you launch this thing, everyone's in, okay? Train. You got everybody there. You know who you need to train. You've been training. You've developed it together. This training part at the end is more for the rest of the company. You have everyone who's involved now. Now let's get the peripheral processes on board. That's where the training comes in. And then launch. It's my favorite, obviously. It's my favorite part is launching. You finally get to watch in this case, the customer complaint come through an automated process, through an automated invincible process, showing people what to do as it goes along. Okay? After. So you've launched, you can't wash your hands and walk away. It's necessary that you direct traffic. I can't count how many times I've run all around our 3-story building from office to push workflows. Just to show people what it is that is a required step and what's not required and why it's required. It takes a little bit of directing traffic. You've got to get up and push people, not literally, but you understand. You've got to get them in the movement of it. Okay? Be available. Don't be scarce. Make yourself available. This is your baby. If you're automating it, it's your baby. Got to be available for any questions. And they're going to come. Okay? Monitor. It's beautiful. You're looking back. You're watching Qualtrax. Now you have so much transparency into a process that you had zero transparency on, in our case, 2 months prior. Okay, why are we monitoring? So that we can fine-tune it and really get it tweaked. Okay? So, I'm going to show that RMA process, and this is where we use Qualtrax to do all of our workflows. They have been more than helpful, to say the least, in guiding us, in speed bumps along the way. And automating a process is not a process within itself. It's not an easy task. It's not as cut and dry as we may think it is and as Cornet thought it was. But with the help of Qualtrax to sort of push us, guide us, okay, it's this is the capabilities. Oh no, these aren't the capabilities. And many times Qualtrax did certain behind the scenes to their software in order to accommodate some of the workflows that we've done. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to TeamViewer. So we're not hosted yet, and who here is hosted? Qualtrax. 2. Everyone else is in-house.
We went hosted it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. My leadership's still scared of the word hosted. Everything we do is with the government, and this conference we're going to be able to show our leadership that we're dealing with. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is here. We have several 3-letter agencies that are here. I think we're okay, guys. We're Azure. Let's do it. They're just a little weary of the word cloud. So, like I was saying before, all of this action that you see here was used to take place on this. So, it's a great place to start. If you have a process that needs to be automated, do they have a form that they're currently using? It's the best place to start. Why? Because this is what they've been doing, filling out for the last however many years, 15, 20 years in our case. They know it like the back of their hand. They think they do. You'd be surprised how many people fill out a form every day and don't really know every little and why it's on there. So when you have a form for the process, you're already halfway there. You can take your form, build your squares, circles and triangles, and have a pretty bare but start to a process that you've basically not changed at this point. So when the user logs in, it should just feel like they're filling out the same form that they've been filling out for years. Okay, so initiate RMA. This is our order admin. And the way that she gets it, when we go cloud, our customer will fill this part out. That's the goal. It's limitless now. The customer will fill it out. Okay, but at this point, she gets this information, she takes it, she plugs it in. Once she plugs it in, she pushes it to our shipping. Now it's sitting in shipping's inbox. Not the form, a little message. It says, waiting on arrival. It tells receiving, not shipping. It tells receiving, you've got something coming down the pipes. It's already there in Qualtrax. They can pull it up. They can start preparing for it. They can look at it. Couldn't do that in the past. ROI. That's return on your investment. Okay, let's go to my inbox. I'm not going to bore you through each step of this RMA process. It is boring. Actually, let's do the, Tim, if you don't mind, go to the administration workflows, and let's open up the admin side of that workflow, RMA Repair Tracker 2.0. I just want to give you a 30,000 foot view of what this turned into. Sorry, spin off. So here's our steps. You can scroll up a little. Initiate, waiting, confirm. These are all everything that's needed to get this back to the customer in 30 days or less. We were getting them out in 2 days. And the great thing about it is we could prove it. You know, talking to the test technicians there, oh, we get them out all the time. They're never late. I just had one the other day. It was 3, but they had no way to prove it. This gives CYA for the people who are involved in doing the process. Okay, and all these are routes, different ways it can go. You know, the if statements. Well, if it's green, it needs to go be evaluated by, Test Tech Plumley. If it's yellow, it needs to be evaluated by Test Tech Deborah. So somebody at some point has to make a decision on where to send it. That's all done in a workflow. Okay, if you go to my inbox and then 2.0. Scroll down. Repair Tracker 2.0, restore. So at a very quick glance, I can tell you what's in evaluation, what's in final inspection, what's in shipping, what I have initiated, and what I have to collaborate on. Like that. That's all management wanted. They wanted to know where in the process is this stuff. That's the first question they would ask. Customer would call, I'm angry. We shipped this to you 45 days ago. Where is it? What does the manager say? Where is it to the rest of us? And we're all, I don't know. Under here. Oh, I think it is, it's a mess. A controlled mess. I don't want to poo-poo on my company, but it was a task for these guys, and they became unhappy inside of this RMA process. Unhappy, disconnected from it. Now they have a purpose. They get an email. It says, you have an RMA that's been received. It's sitting on the shelf. This is where the hardware comes in. That shelf needed to be there prior to anything coming in. We are now going to, so every instance that you open in Qualtrax, you get a unique number. And depending on how many instances you have, that number, I think Patrick said it would take 200 years or something to exhaust the numbers that Qualtrax, record that it can keep. So we're on 5-digit numbers. So we used to keep an RMA number, an Excel sheet that tracked a number that was assigned to the customer once the complaint was received. And they're not all complaints. A lot of our stuff is upgrades. We do a lot of electronics. Stuff's coming in from a ship that, it can only be upgraded by us. So now they get an email. It says, go pick it up. And Qualtrax has the ability to assign reminders. So everyone gets busy. We have new product that we're building for new customers. The RMA is kind of on the side for the test technicians. They fit it in where they can get it in. They forget. We all forget. Qualtrax has the ability to send a little reminder after 2 or 3 days and say, hey, and you can fashion this reminder however you want. It's my suggestion that you be gentle with your reminder, not abrupt. We want to just remind them. You have something on the shelf. So they go pick up the shelf. Once they picked up the shelf, it automatically updates here in my document tree that the test technician has picked up the item. Test technician then has to evaluate it. In the past, he knew he had to evaluate it, but what was he evaluating it to? This test tech evaluated it this way. This test tech evaluated it this way. So on and so forth. We were able to standardize the evaluation process for every article that came in. Went through the same scrutiny process that all the rest did. Standardized it. Again, not available on your local form. So, again, going back to the 30 days. The initial problem, we needed to get it back in 30 days. Now we can track it. Item picked up. We have a timestamp and date. Qualtrax gives it. You know when it got picked up, exactly what time, and by who. At that point, if you've told your customer 30 days, you know when you need to return it, right? So you go ahead and select that date 30 days out from the date that you picked it up. And all that's done in the workflow by different people at each step. Okay, so the purpose of building this workflow resulted in our customer getting their product within 30 days. If they weren't going to get their product within 30 days for things outside of Cornet's control or anyone's control, quite frankly, we were at least able to tell them, hey, you're going to be late. We're going to be late. That's huge for our customers. That's all they wanted to hear. But it wasn't that we didn't want to. We didn't have the ability to. We didn't know it was late until it was late. Now we could get one step ahead and let our customer know, okay, we're going to be late. And this is why. Okay? There's a huge disconnect from the person that takes the customer's complaint and the person that's doing the work. I don't know if anyone else has this experience in their company, but whoever is taking in the customer's issue, and there seems to be a disconnect between the person that's doing the work. So what actually happened after the product came in? In the past, not all the times the customer was correct in their complaint, or maybe misinformed, or maybe a misdiagnosis, something of this nature. So we were able to resolve it, but the customer never knew. Why? Because the person who was talking with the customer had no clue what really happened. They just knew it came in and went out, repaired. Okay, so reports. Go to favorites. Company. So this is the president of Cornet's favorite tab, who was not a workflow fan when we started, and now he's got his own. You'll understand. So go to RMA forms. So again, in the past, the customer would get a copy of this after it was done being filled out. And sometimes it was handwritten, sometimes it was typed. No good, right? It's not a good reflection of your quality. So scroll down a little here. So and you can open one of the newer ones. Those are the tests that was in some of the beginning ones. Scroll down. Yeah. Just go down the bottom of that list, pick one, 19 something. As the workflow is going through, imagine there's a form in the background. And it's taking the information that's being plugged into those fields, and it's populating that form for you in the background as it goes. Okay, that's this form here. So it's called form filler. It's a function that Qualtrax has. It's beautiful. You can take and make a very beautiful form. So something that's more presentable to the eye, something a little more modern. So Cornet used this one for 25 years. We have now been giving our customer this one for 3 years. And it's accurate. So I love about it. Gives a description of the problem. Scroll down. Okay. Cornet part number, verified customer's complaint. Yes or no? Did we see what the customer saw? Customer wants to know this. Undeclared issues, yes. What else did we find? We also found some damaged components. What did we do? We replaced the hardware. All right, that wasn't being captured. What else did we do? The things that the customer didn't identify. Yes, they sent it in for an upgrade, but it was also missing 3 teeth and an ear. Yeah, it's missing parts. So the test technician, because I believe everybody gets up in the morning and goes to work and wants to do good. The test tech saw broken, they fix, it goes. But that's untracked. It's unpaid for. It's lost money. Huge. Especially when you get into some of the components that we deal with. I mean, they're outrageously expensive. So with that being said, let's go back to the PowerPoint. Anyone have any questions? Yes.
You said that they replaced the components, and does that feed into like a ERP system or your billing software, or?
I wish. It would be beautiful. Yeah, that would be great. It does work. It does launch a rework workflow. So, it connects the rework that's going on with the RMA process itself. So
it sends it off to billing and lets them know that there's additional.
We send a report off on to billing.
Okay.
And they do their thing.
Okay.
So, and before, billing didn't have that. I mean, we were charging a flat rate for RMAs. And come to find out, after automating it, wow, big money being lost and misquoting what was actually done. The customer's willing to pay for it. Absolutely. They want it fixed. And we were fixing it. We weren't charging for it. Huge, huge waste. We calculated $60,000 in the first year that we automated this in that waste alone. That's the number I felt comfortable giving Patrick. He wanted a number. Everyone wants a number. I was safe giving $60,000. That's not including paper. That's not including ink. That technician was photocopying 5 times for 25 years. And I did the math. And she trained the next person who also copied 5 times. And throughout. Again, they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. And that's kind of the nature that we see in paper processes. There's so much gray area that lets the person who's controlling the form or the process make their own decision. And yeah, you do want some flexibility with, you want to leave some autonomy with your experts who are driving the process. But at the same time, you want to keep them on the right track, which is to finish the RMA within 30 days. Okay, so ROI. As I said, our process began as a paper process. I call it a paper process. I don't know if there's like a unique quality word for it. It's basically you're using a form to do something, and that form adds value to a process for your company, then it could be a candidate for a workflow. Okay? Okay. ROI, return on investment, $60,000 is what I gave him. That was in, next. Okay. All right, we'll start with reports. Ultimately, yes, the money's great. And the money will keep, the more you streamline these processes, the money's just gonna keep. You're more than paying for the Qualtrax system. It's already paid for itself in the first workflow. At least for us. The first workflow we put in paid for Qualtrax. We were done. We had paid for the system, just in the savings that we identified. So, for me, it's not necessarily the money. If you want to put a dollar figure on it, it'll always keep growing. For me, it's the reports. It's putting information into the boss's, he or she's hand that allows them to make decisions to move your company in a direction that it needs to go. And what I found is that when leaders are given weak reports generated from counting forms, sorting forms, reports that come from Excel data that's been extrapolated by hand from a form to, there's too much room for error between the two. And what you end up giving is a very watered down report to your stakeholders, CEOs, and it results in very watered down decisions. And it's a great way to empower your leader is to give them a report that they can make really good decisions on. Even take a few risks based on the evidence that they see. For us, these reports now included, for our quoting, what was the actual man hours spent repairing? That was a broad man hours that they threw out there. Now we could see it by product and charge accordingly. Troubleshooting man hours. Sometimes we'll have things sent to us, they just want us to troubleshoot it. And because they think the problem's on their end, they want to eliminate our end. We never knew how long we were doing it, so we couldn't charge appropriately. Additional man hours spent communicating with the customer. Expedited shipping costs. This is another one. Once we got over 30 days, we expedited it to the customer. We wanted it there fast, fast, fast. We were already 30 days late. I don't know why we did it, but we did it. Well, we added on a little to the workflow for shipping when they ship it. What was the cost of expedited shipping if you expedited it? And now we have a report that shows this. When you hand a leader a report with numbers on it, that's how you move things. You tell them, okay, we're burning $10,000 a month in expedite shipping costs. What's the first thing? All right, all expedite stops. Oh, we can't do that. We can't get that. We got to beat them to it. Next. And compliancy. So ISO 9001:2015 compliant with this workflow. It more than satisfies the ISO standard. Matter of fact, it satisfies it so much. Our auditors love us now. In the past, a little shaky. A lot of running around. A lot of, we know we have the evidence. We know all right, this is this form. Sort this, bring up that Excel sheet, and, did Johnny Blue sort that right? This kind of stuff. All in front of the auditors, and, it can be a little embarrassing. We were able to show them at a glance everything that was going on with customer returns, which is how we one of the methods or KPIs we use to gauge our customer satisfaction is our return process. So compliancy, here's the proof. Next. This is when we went from 2008 to 2015. This is the first accreditation where they do a full system audit. So without showing you the entire report, I skipped to the RMA section. So you guys are familiar, if you've been audited, ISO, whatever standard it is, when they're done, they give you a report, basically analysis of how you did, how you didn't do, so on and so forth. And then break it down by standard requirement process statement, and then what is its evaluation. We got the highest you could get in this. It was considered a strength for Cornet. And this is right out of the auditors. This is the auditor, nobody else. The use of workflows with required forms, records, and procedural instructions provide positive control of operations, ensuring appropriate technical information and record forms are available when needed and can be traced back to the individual who completed the associated task. It's a complete circle. At any point in time, you can pick up a product and know what it is, why it is, and who belongs to. I love it. We started as a paper process. And that's it. Any questions?